Hi, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Tell me how things have been for you since the last time we met. I think it's been about 10 days.
Um, Things have been good. I've been uh, deciding to slow down a lot and just take the advice of you and other people. Um, still, uh, Still pretty angry about just some of the basic stuff that comes with treatment.
Tell me what basic stuff means.
Well, some of the stuff we talked about last time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you remember.
I do. Things like having to keep the door open, feeling like you had extra rules applied to you and not to other people.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just wondering now that it's been so long, like, what's your take on all that? I feel like I've shown serious growth, so it'd be nice if everyone could ease up.
Well, why don't we evaluate the specifics at the end of the session? I would like to hear a little bit about this growth, and the progress that you feel like you've made, and that's amazing. Congratulations. You said that you'd kind of slowed down this week, so I would love to hear about the details of that.
Um, well, I decided to, take your advice, just slow down on getting more involved in meetings, just not really second guessing rules, just, whatever, it is what it is, I'll do it. If I'm being completely honest, like, I'm not going out of my way to be of extra service, but, like, if it's there, I'll do it. If it's, like, glaring at me, but, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like you've been a lot more mindful of incorporating
I hate that
recovery.
word.
You do? Oh, tell me why.
Yeah. It gets brought up all the time. Ooh, let's have a group on
Uh
mindfulness.
huh.
Like, what does mindfulness look like for you? Like, okay, and everyone gives their, limited sophomoric, which is fine. I mean, mine is too, but how can you really expand on mindfulness? It's a trope.
Okay, all right. Um, so, what word do you like instead of mindful?
Present?
Present. Okay, present. Do you like awareness? How does awareness work?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't know
Okay.
why. That one doesn't slide off the tongue. No.
Interesting. Okay. Noted. Thank you for telling me. So, um, you've been more present, and you've been actively looking for ways to incorporate recovery, even if you haven't been going out of your way, as you say. Um, I know that recovery for you encompasses two kind of major things. There is what we talked about last week, and I think a lot of the rules that kind of really irked you last week and maybe still dealt with the incident where they found you purging in the bathroom. And then we've got recovery over here, which is the substance use recovery. Are you treating those two things as different or sort of the same?
Um, I feel like they're the same, but I treat them differently.
I think you told me a little bit about how you thought that they were connected and how you thought that they were different last week. I would love to hear, now that it's been some time, where you stand with that now.
Well, they're all connected in the sense that it's like a sickness, right? Or, a disease or whatever, some criteria that is in the DSM-5, but like I feel like they all get treated the same way. So, maybe it's a fucked up cousin of the bigger addiction.
The bigger addiction. Which one is the bigger addiction?
substance abuse.
Okay.
I feel like substance abuse is so much more glaring that it gets so much more, emphasis, or like a microscope gets put under it. So, like, treat that first, get to the other one next. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my approach to it.
Okay.
And I like not doing anything about it.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, like, I do something about it, but, like, mentally, I like not doing anything about it.
Okay.
Physically, it's like, I can see how this can hinder my health. I need to stop. But I still like having that sick part in my head.
What is the sick part in your head like?
It seeks validation, just, moans.
Okay.
Okay. Things like that.
What do you like about it? What does it do for you?
Well, you know what it does. You're a therapist.
I'd like to hear it from you, though.
What do you think it does?
Well, I think it could be a lot of things. You mentioned that you want to keep the sickness in your head because you like the validation, and you use the word moan. So I'm guessing the kind of being able to focus on it often. Maybe it's something that's always kind of been there, and it would be scary if it was no longer there, because maybe it would change your relationship with yourself. Maybe you wouldn't, it would be like a big hole that's missing because it's always been there.
That's pretty good.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have this validation piece too, which is also, I think, really related to self-concept, but I'm interested to hear from you if that sounds like it just about covers it, or if maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, well, I only want to be validated when I look fat or gross.
When you feel
Yeah, if I know
gross.
That I'm looking good, no, when I am.
Okay.
I see what you did there. Yeah. When I feel gross, mm-hmm. That's when I would rather seek validation, because then it confirms that, I am that thing. And then it can give me a goal to not be that thing. And it's something that I can control because it is my body. Mm-hmm. It's like the one thing that can be controlled. So.
Okay.
But I still don't think I meet any of the criteria.
So we talked a little bit.
That's a joke. I'm sorry.
Does it? Okay. Well played. Very good acting. Thank you for sparing me from going through the criteria. Because in all seriousness, we've talked enough to know that you do meet the criteria. And for both an eating disorder and for substance use disorder. And originally, I was kind of exploring how these two were related, and also how these two were different for you. And related, it sounds like, because they're both a disease, and the recovery process can have some overlap. But it sounds like the differences are that you want to keep one, and you're okay with getting rid of the other one. And I'm wondering what is more worth holding on in this eating disorder. You mentioned the word control, and I think that that's a really important word.
Well, I think it's more like keep one at bay rather than keep one. Yeah, I'd rather just sort of like, get it some treatment, but just, I don't want to fully recover from that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Probably because it's been with me since I was, a child, mm-hmm. before I, even hit puberty. So it's just like, regardless, it will always be a part of me. So even viewing it like this thing will never be a part of me is, weird to think about. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With substances, it's completely different, because you put it down and you put it down. And I've seen what successes can come from that. With this, it's like, no one really knows if you're doing it right? That's what a sick person would say.
Well, I do think that there is a bit of self-trickery involved in both of these, and I think that they're related, and I think that you would understand it. It's a semblance of control, right? So it isn't just the same way when they talk about alcoholism, and they talk about how we think we're in control. We're constantly trying to control our drinking, but in reality, we're pretty powerless, right? And I think eating disorders are the same. It sounds like you have, since you were young, felt like you were in control of this one thing. I've got control over my body. But it does sound to me like actually it's very out of control, similar to alcoholism. And in a way, it's almost like you've been controlled, and it can be really scary to let something like that out and let something like that go.
I feel like if I don't know, I just don't know what it would look like to be, mentally, I don't even want to say free from it, because I feel like that's admitting that it has some sort of power, which it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. But yeah, I don't know. That's just one that I don't like talking about much. And when I do, like, I can talk about it forever, but then once it gets to like where it is right now, where like I know there's an action part coming up, like I just don't. I'll listen. I'm interested. But
it's that tension. It's that push for change that makes you kind of want to. Nope, never mind.
Well, it's not that. I also know the cycle so well. Like, you just replace it with this, the cycle of addiction. First step stuff. I know that if you replace it with this, and then you bring up, like, consequences, and that can be whatever, or there can be no consequences. Like, it's something that if I'm unwilling to admit that it truly has any power over me, and I just say this is who I am, then I'm not willing to change anything. And, like, that's what it comes down to every time. That's why this is, like, talking about eating disorder stuff has never helped. Because I know that on its face, if I'm unwilling to admit that, then bleh. Even if I am, on some level I am. But I almost mock it.
Yeah. And so in that way, I do think that these two things almost need to be different. Because I think it sounds like once you start thinking that the eating disorder is completely synonymous with the addiction, and you've already memorized the process, and you already know which step you're not going to like, I think you almost derail yourself from really exploring what the eating disorder is to you, without trying to take away anything that you're not ready to give up. I do want to encourage you to explore a little bit more what this eating disorder is to you, what it means to you, when it comforts you, because I do think while there are some similarities with the addiction, and maybe they're fueled by some bigger underlying thing, I do think that the treatment and the approach has to be different for both of them. Another big factor is that you've already gotten a pretty significant amount of time sober before you've done this. And so I think to try and apply all of that knowledge that you've accumulated to this eating disorder, which is a very new thing, I think, for you, would maybe muddy the waters, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it would do exactly what I do every time I get serious about getting sober. I'd look for contradictions in everything. And if I find any, I'll point out how it's, pointless.
Okay. And can you tell me just a few of those contradictions, or even just one?
Oh, God. I couldn't tell you one, because I was in detox when I was looking through them. That was, yeah.
Okay.
But it had such a profound effect that I wouldn't take anything seriously for a while. Okay. And, that's what derailed me.
Were you happy when you, looking back, were able to overcome that cynicism?
I was happy when I was able to find staff members and other people who pointed out how I was wrong or gave me like another point of view on it.
Okay.
Someone who challenged it. I like when someone challenges it.
Okay. I think that's also important too.
Don't write that down.
It's important. It's good stuff.
I'm just kidding.
So what I want to do then is to challenge some of these preconceived notions you have about your eating disorder and your recovery, especially the part where you've stated that you want to keep it, you want to stay. I think you've said the sentence, "I want to stay sick," in that area. And while I know that applies to some people who are really afraid of weight gain, I've talked a lot with you, and I don't get the sense that your biggest fear is weight gain. I get the sense that this is more about fear of change and fear of losing control, and fear of having a piece of that identity missing. And so I want to challenge it, and I have a couple of things that I would like you to do outside of our session. Going back to those rules that you're not such a big fan of, that I know that they're ongoing, I think we can make a deal where if you maybe do some homework for me, I can maybe take a look at some of the things that are going on out at the house, and we can kind of make some adjustments to the rules so that you feel more comfortable. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I would like you to do is to write, just free write maybe a page or two, and I want you to try and get to the bottom of what the eating disorder is really truly doing for you, and also what the fear is. What's the worst that could happen if you give it up? I really want you to tap into that. What is the absolute scariest thing to you that could happen if that was no longer a part of your life? So that emptiness, that amount of space that this eating disorder has been taking up, I want you to explore what it would be like to be free from it. Both the good parts and the scary parts.
We can't use the word free.
Okay, all right. So no mindful, no free. What should I use instead of free?
I don't know.
We'll come up with something.
Yeah.
All right. So if that sounds good,